Welcome to Brazos Matters. I'm Jay Sokol. Okay, so let's take a guy who was a city manager in various locations for 27 years. He leaves the profession, joins the private sector, but then feels the call to get back into public service, but this time not as the top guy, but as a department head. I mean, what a breeze. This guy is playing three-dimensional career chess while the rest of us are playing checkers, I think. So our guest today is the director of Bryan Parks Recreation and Facilities. Brad Stafford, thanks for being here.
Hey, Jay, thank you. I really appreciate you having me on. You gave me a little too much credit there.
No.
I've never been a chess player.
No. We see what you're doing here. First of all, let's get this right out of the way. How much do you regret attending Texas Tech?
Oh, no. I love Texas Tech. I know that's hard for you guys to hear whenever I'm sitting here on
But
A&M
it's in
campus.
Lubbock, Brad.
Well, that's where I grew up. So,
Okay.
you have to love it to live there. And but it was great. Texas Tech was good to me.
That's what everybody who goes to Tech says.
Yeah.
And I have lots of friends who did. Okay, so you were in city management forever, and now you're with the City of Bryan overseeing a few big functions. So comparatively speaking, is it a snap or is it harder than you thought?
Well, I'm not going to say it's a snap, but it's not harder than I thought.
Okay.
That's kind of I didn't give you an answer. But I think it's I'm going to say it's fun because this is the part of city management that I loved, was handling the pretty things, the fun things,
right.
Some people say it's odd having the facilities under me as well, but I actually like that because it's part of making the place better and making things great for our community.
Well, and that's not totally foreign to you. You've had to pay attention to facilities in your previous roles, right?
Yeah, almost 28 years, yeah. Or Actually, I would say 32 because I did it whenever I was not a city manager as well.
Yeah. So as someone who has not been a career parks and recreation guy, how difficult has it been to walk in and understand that world?
So not too bad. I mean, my degree was in Recreation and Parks Administration.
Oh, okay.
So, and I spent some time. I spent an internship with the city of Baytown. So until I came here, that was the largest city I had ever had experience in. Okay. But it wasn't that bad. You're touching everything as a city manager. It's on a different level, but you're touching it all, and so it really hasn't been that difficult.
Yeah. So in my experience with the City of Bryan, which was many years ago, I saw that Bryan Parks and Recreation was small but extremely mighty in terms of department size. What has your impression been?
So I would say the same thing. I think that, I say this every day. I am so impressed with the staff that is in place. I can't take credit for putting anyone in place, but I will say someone put a really good staff together. Very knowledgeable, hardworking, and I believe that we do put out a lot of work for a small group.
Yeah.
And I think we provide some really nice parks and facilities for the city.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I think the tendency is for people here to not realize what kind of inventory of parks and amenities exists, really in both cities, but especially in Bryan, because so much might be tucked away in neighborhoods or what have you. But talk a little bit about the 50-something parks and amenities that you oversee.
So I'll tell you this. I went home after the first few weeks and I told my wife, I said, "Hey, Mary, you're not going to believe the quality of the parks at the City of Bryan, and it's a hidden gem." They just haven't had the publicity, and of course we're working really hard right now to change the publicity of our parks. But
right.
Everybody knows about Midtown, but they don't realize all of these other community parks and area parks that we have that are just unbelievable. The trails, the playground systems, and just the open space that we have. I have just been amazed. I love to just go walk around and look at and think, this is so awesome to see that this city has this quality of park system.
What are some places you've had a chance to check out so far?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I have been to all of them.
You have been?
Yeah.
Already?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to tell you that I can get to them very easy, but I have Google Maps, and I got to them, and I have looked at all of them because I felt like that was my responsibility. I need to go look at them, so at least when somebody calls or has a conversation with me, I have an idea of where we are.
But you've only been on the job how long?
Well, I've been here 4 months.
4 months. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
so
all right.
If I haven't seen them, something's probably wrong.
Okay.
Right. But I'm not as familiar with some as I am others because I have to be in some of them a little more often.
Right.
But I've been to all. I think I'm impressed with every one. Do I see things that I would like to see improve? Sure.
Yeah.
Just like anybody else.
So, some favorite spots so far?
So, I really like Austin's Colony Park. I don't know why. I think it's because of all the deer that are out there.
Yep.
But I do like that park. I like actually Heritage Park is just so cool.
That's a great park.
Yeah, it's so cool. Because of the neighborhood and because of just it's so historic feeling. When you're out there, you feel like you've gone back in time.
And for people who don't know, I think that's in what's called the East Side Historical District or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just surrounded by these beautiful period homes.
It is, yeah. And it's it doesn't have a big playground in it. It's got a walking trail. It's got a gazebo. It's got benches, beautiful trees. And we're getting ready to do a little work out there too. And it's just, I don't know. I go out there. I had lunch out there one day when it was a little nicer weather than it is today,
right.
And it was so cool to sit there and just look around and think about the people that have gone through that park over the years.
Yes, because Bryan is a much older city. I think incorporated in 1871, and I would think some of those homes date to then or even before. And you can
cool.
very easily see people 150 years ago wandering through the same park you're in.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That's very cool. So you're now sitting in these meetings with other department heads, and I'm sure you're either thinking to yourself or saying out loud as City Manager Keene Register is talking, that's not what I would do. No, but seriously, you probably know the secret sauce when it comes to asking for budget increases or for managing up. Like, are you able to operate pretty well in this role, knowing what Keene and Joey Dunn and Hugh Walker are dealing with?
Yeah, I think that I was a little concerned about that transition after so many years of sitting in the hot seat.
Right.
But it's actually not been as difficult as I thought. And, of course, part of that is knowing those guys for so many years. We have a relationship, and I respect them so much, and as well as all of our other directors and other staff. But I think that it was not too hard to sit there. It's been easier to sit down and be quiet. I know that most people that have known me for any amount of time say there's no way Stafford can be quiet, but it's been a lot easier than I thought to sit there and just listen. Yeah. And buy into the decisions that are being made, because that's their responsibility. And I think that actually helps, is that I understand the role they play a lot more than most. And I also understand when they have their reasoning, I understand that reasoning because I've been there and I had to do the same thing.
Are you able to then translate their perspectives and challenges and constraints and all that down to your staff in a way that maybe they haven't been able to understand before?
So that's a really interesting question. I actually had this conversation with Hugh Walker yesterday about some of the staff asking me questions about why this decision is made or what's happening there. And their question included, you've sat in that seat before, so I want to know why. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to offer that perspective. And I think give that understanding of, because we get so focused in a department, and I say that because that's where I am now. You get focused on your department, and it's not easy to see the whole forest.
Well, that's right.
And so I think it gives a different perspective, and I think it's been a really help to the staff.
Yeah. Yeah, it is difficult because you want everything that you could possibly get for your own group.
Sure.
I mean, that's what you're there to do.
It's only natural.
But you do have to understand that, public safety is important. They do need funding. So do all of these other functions and support groups and so forth. And being able to paint that picture for staff is not always easy.
Yeah, and I think that has helped to have me in there. But, on the other hand, you have to admit that the Parks and Recreation Department over recent years has been blessed to have a nice budget to really make some positive difference in the city.
Yes, absolutely. Well, if you would talk about some of the projects that are underway right now, Midtown Park is obviously high visibility, but I know you probably have more things going on than that.
We do. Of course, Midtown does take a lot of our time. We have a lot of irons in the fire over there.
Sure.
But, we're working right now on replacing a lot of our picnic tables, benches, trash receptacles throughout our park system. We're trying to put together which parks will receive new playground equipment this year that, we obviously can't fund all the needs, but we're going to be able to replace some, and we're right in the middle of making those plans and trying to really, we've narrowed it down. I probably won't go into that yet, but we've narrowed it down to some of the playgrounds that need to be replaced, and then now we're trying to make sure we can fit all that into the budget. And
these things are not cheap.
You're right. It is so expensive anymore, and I'm amazed at how much prices have increased just in the last 3 or 4 years for all of this equipment that we're purchasing. It's hard to believe, but I know everybody's got that same issue. And no matter what department you're in.
Right. Well, and I don't know what the typical lifespan is for. I guess it depends on how heavily used a particular park is. But you put in a new batch of playground equipment. I don't know if you get 10 years off of that. I don't know if you get longer, less, what?
It's all going to depend. I mean, you're right. It depends on how it's treated, how it's maintained.
Right.
But, normally you're going to get 15, 20 years, hopefully, out of those pieces of equipment.
Okay. Talk about some other projects you have besides considering which playscapes to replace.
Well, we've got a lot of issues right now. That drought this past summer was tough, so we're going to be working on a lot of trees this spring. It's been a concern of mine that so much of our plant material in our parks and at our other facilities, they've really suffered. So we've got that, and that's going to be really high on our priority list. Right. Because that's a safety issue. It's also a beautification issue. We want to make sure we have good aesthetics everywhere we have facilities. So
well, and so many of these parks in Bryan have these towering oak trees. I have to imagine a bunch of those things ended up going away.
Yeah, and Marcus and I were having a conversation this morning. When you start seeing crepe myrtles in this area suffer and die, and you see yopons suffer and die, that's a bad sign for some of the trees that we have and other plant material. And so that is going to be a big issue in replanting and taking care of that.
So let's pause for just a second. If you just tuned in, I'm Jay Sokol. You're listening to Brazos Matters, and my guest is Brad Stafford. We're talking about Bryan Parks, recreation, and facilities. So let's turn to facilities real quickly. Talk about that world.
Yeah, so a lot of facilities compared to where I came from, but really, pretty good shape. We've got some things, everybody knows you've got the PEC out there, that's the Phillips Event Center, that's suffered, but we're making progress over there and getting some things done. And of course, again, you struggle with the supply and demand of all the parts, and nothing that we buy is, one, easy to find, and two, not very inexpensive. They're all expensive.
Right.
So we've got that. We've got, of course, work at Midtown with multiple facilities over there, and then just maintaining, the Justice Center and libraries and,
it's a lot.
The animal shelters and, just everything. Yeah. But, that's fun, is because you've got to make sure that it looks nice. It's presentable to the public. It's presentable to our our customers are also our coworkers.
Sure.
And so we want to make sure that it's a nice, presentable place, no matter where they work.
That's right.
Where, when you as a citizen walk in, we want you to have a good experience as well.
Right. And it's a recruiting tool. If your facility isn't too nice, then you may not get the candidate who you want.
That's correct.
Do you also have fleet services or no?
No.
Okay.
No. Jason gets to keep that.
Okay.
So.
All right. Okay. That makes sense. So we've talked a lot about parks-related things that are here, except I want you to talk a little bit about some amenities that Bryan Parks and Recreation has that maybe College Station doesn't have, or even some of the other surrounding communities, because really you've got some offerings that folks may not be aware of.
Yeah, of course. I think one of the big things that we do right now is we've got some dedicated pickleball areas that we have worked with the Brazos Valley Pickleball Association to provide them some court access that kind of gives them a leg up, and we would like, of course, we'd like to produce or provide a few more sites, but that all takes time and money.
Right.
One of the things that I found early on when I was here is an archery range, and I just thought that was so cool that we have an archery range in one of our parks.
Is that at Austin's Colony?
It is.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, it's really nice, and of course our trails are I think just really beautiful trails, and then of course we do have a lot of offering programming from a recreation side as well. That I'm not going to say that they don't offer it, and I don't think it's a competition. I think that it's just making sure that we all provide for the area residents entertainment and beautiful places for them to entertain themselves.
Yes. I think to a great extent there has been intention to, as you said, not necessarily provide competing amenities, but complementary amenities.
Yeah, and I think that's important. Some people would say we're large, but we're not really that large. When to combine the two populations, it's a pretty good size community.
Yes.
But you don't want to oversaturate with certain things, and then one of them flounders,
right,
or all of them flounder. So I think it's important that we take into account on each side of each city side what we offer.
Sure. So let's see. If I remember correctly, you've got a heated pool, right?
We do have a heated pool.
That's over at
open year round.
Bryan Aquatic Center.
That's correct.
So that's unique, I think.
That is unique.
Let's see. You've got a whole host of horseshoe pits that I think is unique.
We have. I don't remember how many horseshoe pits.
We
have a lot.
It is a bunch, and I think at least some of those are ADA accessible. Mm-hmm. Correct?
Yeah, and it's really nice to have that option as well.
Yeah. Any other unique amenities that come to mind?
Well, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything, but those two are really a real big deal. That heated pool is that's a really nice thing, and I've had a lot of calls about that, and people that are still finding out that we have a heated pool. That's one of the things that I feel like that we've got to market a little more, is that we do have that heated pool.
Yeah, that's a special offering for sure. Are there other things that maybe we haven't heard much about in terms of what is coming? Any bigger projects that you haven't talked much about that would be worth mentioning?
In our general park system, no, but of course at Midtown, I think everybody knows we're getting ready to start construction on a tennis multi-purpose center out there. That was a little project in conjunction with Texas A&M.
That's an indoor facility.
Indoor tennis facility, but it'll also be multi-purpose, so it'll be able to serve, wrestling, dance competitions, or cheer competitions, all type of things.
Right.
We kind of been calling it a mini Legends event center. But we have I think what's going to be really cool for this area is when we get that signature park built, that signature playground out at Midtown. And we've started that process, thanks to a really generous donation from Doug French.
Yeah.
We're going to be able to build a really nice playground for all ages. You and I may even go out there and enjoy ourselves on that. Of course, I enjoy myself on all the playgrounds. So, I've been known to not act my age.
Right. Well, do you already know? Has there been any conceptual work done, design work done to where some of the things that will be there, some of the elements?
Well, we're very early in that,
okay.
Jay. We've put some things together. We're still tweaking what we want to try to do.
Yeah.
And, we've spent a little time looking at other communities, large parks like that, trying to make sure, because we want this to be something that really is an attraction that our community as well as other communities in the area can enjoy.
Yeah. Are you finding yourself trying to determine the right balance between, look, we're building things that serve the residents of the city of Bryan versus, hey, here's some things we hope will cater more to visitors and drive a little bit of tourism? Have you had to try to determine where that balance is yet?
I think we have a pretty good balance with that. It's, because we all understand we're serving our citizens, but at the same time, we want to make sure and make this place as inviting as possible to as many visitors as we can.
Yeah.
I know that there are some people that have been very concerned that they feel like that it's a cater to strictly to visitors, and it is not. Even Legends Event Center, we have open gym. It's for our community. It's
right.
for the community. Yes, we have times where it's locked down because of tournaments. You can't get in there and just have an open gym to play in during tournaments, or we've even hosted career fairs in the event center, and so we're kind of having to balance that. But I think that it's real simple. We know who we serve,
right.
and we want to make sure and we do the best job that we can.
Yeah. We talked a tiny bit about budget earlier, and I know that you're not too deep into the current fiscal year, but budget planning is now year-round. Of course, it has been for you as a city manager forever. But are there things that you and your staff are looking at and thinking, you know what, we really need to ask for this, whether it happens this next fiscal year or the one after that? What's kind of on the radar in terms of needs?
I guess I would say, of course,
yes.
We're always looking for things, and we have all kind. We're full of ideas. I've always told city councils in the past that I had a whole lot more ideas than I had money.
Sure.
But yeah, we've got some things. There's something that's been high on my list since I got here was landscaping in our downtown.
Yeah.
Downtown Bryan. I love downtown Bryan. I think it's a beautiful location, and as I've worked through this, I see a lot of potential that we need to work on, and so that's something that I'd like to see us improve. Of course, I'd like to continue to replace some of these aging playgrounds and get them improved and improve the turf grass in some areas, and I actually want to see us make some major improvements at BRAC, at the athletic center out there.
Yeah, the regional athletic complex.
Yeah, and and something else that I have noticed since I've been here is there's not a place to fish. We do have the lake at Midtown, and you can go out to Lake Bryan,
right?
But our park systems don't have little ponds and places. And of course, I'm a fisherman, so
I guess
of course, I would notice that, right? But that's one of the things that I've brought up to Hugh. I was like, I'm going to start finding us a place to find some community lakes and ponds, so that our residents have a place close to home to go wet a hook.
Now that's an interesting idea. I know College Station has 2 or 3 places at least to where residents can do that.
Right.
And residents know the date that it's going to be stocked.
Yes.
Because, when the sun comes up, you see a crowd. But that's an interesting idea about trying to establish something like that in Bryan.
Yeah, it was something as I was touring all of our parks, it just clicked with me. And of course, like I said, everybody knows I like to fish, so that's that's kind of odd coming from West Texas because we don't have water out there. But I do love to fish, and it's something that I think really is a great opportunity. And you see people that would take advantage of it if it was close to home.
Right.
And Midtown, we will eventually have some fishing out there, but I'd like to get it in some more neighborhoods.
Right. Your experience, not just in the city of Navasota, but elsewhere, have you some things in your head that you were like, you know what, that was a great facility, that was a great amenity, that was a great program there. I would love at some point to bring that into Bryan. You have anything from your background that you at some point would like to implement?
Well, so I talked a little earlier about the downtown, and I'm very proud of what we did in downtown Navasota in the beautification side. And we were 10 years behind the city of Bryan, and so that means that a lot of the Bryan landscaping and all is reaching its lifespan, because plant material in a downtown setting it can struggle after a certain amount of years.
Right.
And so that's something that I want to bring in, is how to beautify and bring more people down to that area to enjoy what we've created.
Yeah. So we've got just a little bit of time left. Is there anything that you jotted down and brought in here that you want to make sure you mention to us before I let you go?
Well, I want to remind our citizens that we do have our rec leagues sign-ups going on right now for softball and some of our other sports. We've also don't forget the swimming pool,
right,
the aquatic center out there. And then we're coming up quickly on the spring, and in spring we'll have even more opportunities for people to sign up and find a rec league that they fully enjoy and compete with their friends in a friendly competition.
Friendly competition. That's what it's all about. We just want everybody to have fun.
Fun. Yeah, that's, I've told everybody I took the job that's fun.
You are a champ for coming here. Brad Stafford, thanks so much for the talk. We enjoyed it very much.
Thanks for inviting me. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. And if you get a chance, folks, go visit their website, bryantx.gov/parks, and you can find out all the things that Brad's been talking about. Brazos Matters is a production of Aggieland's Public Radio, 90.9 KAMU FM, a member of Texas A&M University's Division of Marketing and Communications. Our show is engineered and edited by Matt Dittman. You can learn more about us and check out all of the Brazos Matters archives at kamu.tamu.edu/radio, or on your favorite podcast platform. You can find us all over the place. I'm Jay Sokol. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.